The Dragon Jagdpanzer IV L70V, the VOMAG version of the Jagdpanzer IV. Bought this kit a couple years ago before Dragon kits started getting hard to find, and I got it for a fairly reasonable price back then. Well, the box says over 800 parts. A couple hundred of those parts are the tracks, and there are quite a few parts that you don't use when building the kit, so I wouldn't be put off by that parts count. I didn't think it was really too oppressive when putting the model together, and I didn't feel like it was a chore due to lots of small parts. The kit has a small photo etch sheet, has markings for a couple different vehicles, and it has the magic tracks. And that was one of the reasons I bought the kit, because I wanted the magic tracks. The sprues in the kit are really nice. The parts are finely molded. There's very little flash. You can just tell by looking at it that it's a nice kit. This kit is the 14th kit that I've built, and I've built 2 other Dragon kits previously. And I was a little apprehensive about building the model because I struggled with the directions a little bit with the other 2 Dragon kits that I built. The instructions for this kit were better than the other 2 Dragon kits that I built. There were 6 or 8 instances where parts were mislabeled, but other than that, I didn't have any issues with it. Being built on the Panzer IV chassis, the model has a lot of wheels. The front 2 road wheels on each side are steel, and the rest of the road wheels have rubber tires. The lower hull assembly went together easily, and the fit was really good. After building the muffler, I left it off the model. I'll paint it separately, and I'll attach it to the model much later in the painting stages. One thing I would have liked to have seen with the model is movable suspension. That's a feature that I see in a lot of kits, and I really like that because when you put it on a display base, you can articulate the suspension, and a little more dramatic for posing the model. Most of the photo etch was used on the engine deck. There's 2 pieces of PE below the louvers, and then there's the piece for the axe. Now the axe bracket is actually too big for the axe head, so that's a little bit of a negative. The main gun is a beautiful model in itself, and one of the interesting features of the main gun is that the gear that sets the elevation of the barrel actually works. There's a small rotary gear that you put in place, and as you elevate or depress the gun, that gear actually turns, so that's kind of interesting. I painted the interior of the model white. Not much of the interior is going to be visible since most of the hatches are closed except for the commander's hatch and the hatch for the binoculars. But I felt like it was worth the effort for what you can see. The parts fit for the fighting compartment and the gun mantlet is phenomenal. In these photos, the fighting compartment's actually just set on the model. It's not even glued, and it's just almost seamless. And the same goes for the engine deck and the air intakes. It's just set in place, and the fit is just fantastic. Now this was a first for me. The instructions required me to shave these numbers off the sprue and then glue them to the gun mantlet. Now these aren't the numbers called for in the instructions, because I kind of mangled the ones they wanted. But I did manage to get some numbers glued on, and they look pretty great. The commander's hatch has a little piece of photo etch, and depending on how you want the hatch, either open or closed, will determine which hinges you select. I have the commander's hatch open because I plan to put a figure in the model. And like the rest of the parts, the roof of the fighting compartment is a seamless fit. And in these photos, the fighting compartment, the roof of the fighting compartment, and the engine deck, they're all just set in place. And I'm just so impressed by the incredible fit. The radio in this photo probably won't be visible, but I added it. I'm at the point in the construction where I need to build the tracks. And there's a left and a right, and you can see that one set of tracks is darker than the other. And I don't remember which is which, but that's how you can tell them apart. I built the tracks on a piece of pink foam, and the only reason I did that is because it's flat. And you'll see I have some masking tape on one end, and I built the masking tape up in layers until that first link is flat, so it doesn't tip up or down. Using Tamiya extra thin cement, I had quite a bit of working time. So I built a length of track, I'd put it on the model, and then I'd, manipulate it until I had the shape I wanted. And I continued by building a length of track and then adding it to the existing length of track. And I used some paper towels. I folded it up, small pieces of paper towel, and I wedged the track in place to hold it in position while the cement's set up. The track lengths are pretty small, but don't let that put you off. The tracks went together really easy, and it was a pleasure to build them. It was easy, and it didn't take that long. And the beauty of individual length tracks is you can set it up however you choose, and you can have the amount of sag that you think looks good. The Scherzen comes in one piece per side. I used a number 11 hobby blade and then cut into individual pieces. Well, that's it. The model's built. It seems like it went together really quickly. The fit was absolutely fantastic, maybe the best I've ever had. And the kit was phenomenal. I was a little apprehensive about building another Dragon kit, but I have to say this one was a pleasure. I don't know when I'm going to get around to painting the model. Right now I'm working on one of my classic cars, and I'm kind of preoccupied with that. But I'll see if I can slide it in here or there, at least get a little bit done. I'm going to want to try something different with this, and I'm going to try to do the disc camouflage. I bought this paint mask set from DN Models, and I'm going to try to use that when painting the model. Well, that's it for part 1, construction of the model. I want to thank you for watching. And if you come across this kit, don't hesitate to buy it. I think it's an excellent kit. So I'll see you next time. We'll put some paint on it.